Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about TV, movies and online content and help you answer the question, is Nicolas Cage being cast as Joe Exotic one of the best bits of casting this year? Most certainly. I'm your host Ashley Hobley. Joining me this episode, Dylan Blight.
I think he should have played the other one.
The guru guy, like the freaking
Carol Baskin. No, Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll find somebody perfect for that. Also joining us, Ciaran Marchant.
No, isn't it better? Isn't it? Who just got cast as playing Mrs. Trunchbull in freaking
Ralph Fiennes in
Ray
Matilda?
Fiennes. Yeah, that's
pretty
great.
good casting as well.
That's pretty good casting. I think he's going to do fantastic. You know, Voldemort, Mrs. Trunchbull, like, you know, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That's apparently that's based on the play, where in the play they get a man to play Mrs. Trunchbull.
Mrs. Trunchbull. Fair enough.
Rather than try and cast find another large lady to play the role, you know?
Ash tiptoeing around that was quite good then.
Yes, I'm just going to take this song
Butch?
out of my... Yep. We got a big episode. We'll be talking about what's in our watch history. We're talking about some film and TV news. And then we'll be talking about the movie we ended up watching, which this week is Your Name. The movie Your Name, not Your Name.
Dylan.
Of the listener.
Dylan the movie. Yeah. Bob Dylan.
All right. Let's jump into what's in our watch history. Dylan, let's start with you. There was a big finale this week to a
Westworld.
series that's been several years in the making. A big break in between seasons. Also Westworld. Let's start off with the Clone Wars finale.
Yeah, Clone Wars finished. I've watched it a couple times.
Yeah.
Multiple different... I think I've watched the finale 3 times now. Yeah, 3 times. So I'm off to the races. That should tell you that I like it. So here's how it went. This final storyline was 4 episodes. However, the last 2 episodes aired where it aired on its normal Friday, and then they aired the final part on Monday because it was May the 4th. And Australia and New Zealand actually got the final episode of the Clone Wars before anywhere else in the world because they actually gave it to us on 12:01 a.m. May the 4th. Yeah, like it dropped early in the morning. No one knew that's how it was going to work. And then I woke up and saw people on Twitter being like, if you can get a VPN and like pretend you're in New Zealand, you can watch it. All these people in America.
12 hours early.
No, it was all these people in New Zealand, in America that were freaking out because they couldn't watch it on time. So that was great.
Yeah.
But the show itself, obviously, the whole season, the 8 episodes prior, the 2 arcs prior to this final arc were fine. They were okay Clone Wars episodes. However, the meat and bones of what this entire season was building towards, and the whole reason everyone was excited for, was these last 4 episodes, and I would say it more than lived up to the hype. I think the final 4 episodes are very much meant to be watched as a movie, which is how I've gone back and done it. I rewatched them in a row and treated it like it was a movie, and it is just this amazing. What would it be like 80-ish minutes? Yeah,
Yep.
So like a short movie, but over an hour by the time you watch all 4. This amazing Star Wars movie that is easily one of my favorite Star Wars things ever of all time. Because the reason I love Star Wars so much is the Clone Wars. Like, I enjoyed Star Wars when I was younger, but the reason I got so heavily back into the franchise and started getting more involved with the lore stuff and like the novels and whatever else, and the interconnectedness of it all, and some of the more weirder sides of Star Wars was because of the Clone Wars. And Ahsoka's obviously, if anyone knows me, knows that's my favorite character. So, and the final arc really is just her and Rex, which is the main clone trooper that's been in this series. It really is just their movie, and you got Mole in it as well, and he shows up, and there's a couple other characters, whatever. But the main characters of these 4 episodes are Ahsoka and Rex. And I don't want to spoil it because I want people to watch it. So I'm not diving into what happens exactly, but the final 2 episodes, I enjoy all 4, but if I had to pick 2 that are the best, it's literally the last 2, and that's why I've watched every single one once as it aired. I went back and I rewatched them all in a row as a movie, and then today, while I was doing stuff on my computer, I rewatched the last 2 episodes again. I can't help myself. And the last 2 episodes, without going to spoilers, that's when they get into Order 66 territory. And it's heartbreaking, emotional, and everything that it should be. And the final couple minutes of the Clone Wars is just perfect. This beautifully dark, somber tone that I think is exactly what the franchise needed to be. And I think it's the perfect ending. And I very much love it. And it's easily one of my favorite Star Wars things ever. These last 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Ever? That's pretty big.
Wow.
That's cool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to take into account. Ahsoka's my favorite character. This is like a big arc storyline for her and everything that's happening. So
I just mean normally you are somewhat, I don't want to say reserved, but you let things kind of air a little bit. You let it, ruminate.
Yeah, I've watched it 3 times. I can watch it again. I enjoy it that much.
Yeah, so I've watched no Clone Wars, or barely any Clone Wars. I watched these last 4 episodes on your recommendation. It's really good. Obviously animated beautifully. Much better than the bits and pieces I've seen prior, of Clone Wars.
That's technology.
That's just technology, that's taken off. But yeah, Maul, cool. The fighting on Mandalore was really interesting and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's nice to imagine how this would have played differently if it had been released prior to Rebels.
It wouldn't have been the same. Dave Filoni's admitted he's changed some stuff because of what happens in Rebels and knowing where certain characters end up, and obviously he has to kind of send them in certain directions. He has to send Maul in a direction because Maul ends up in Solo a couple of years after this. There's certain restrictions of where these characters need to end up.
But it would have been interesting to see how the tension would have been different in that last couple of episodes, because you wouldn't have
sure.
known.
But I still think that the 3rd episode, Shattered, even knowing that Ahsoka's not going to die, the way that they slowly build up the tension, and the music in these 4 episodes is some of the best Star Wars music I've heard since The Last Jedi. In fact, the music in this is better than the entire Rise of Skywalker soundtrack, which isn't to say much because that entire project is shithouse. But the music in Star Wars is usually good, even if the movie's bad. However, I'm on a side that says Rise of Skywalker's movie is also shit. The tracks that are made for these final 4 episodes are phenomenal, and there's one that plays throughout the first half of Shattered. As they take the spoilers, they leave fucking Mandalore. Maul's locked up, and it's coming. Order 6 is coming. You can smell it. You can sense it in the air. Yeah, they've been hinting at it slowly. Throughout the episodes, they've given you hints to know where we are. These episodes take place during the events of Revenge of the Sith. There's literally a moment in the first or second episode where Obi-Wan's in a hologram call, and Ahsoka's like, "Can you come help?" He's like, "Nah, I'm off to fight a fucking Grievous on, I meant to black on that, yeah, sorry. Grievous on the planet, and Anakin's doing this and whatever." So they constantly let you know where you are in the timeline of Revenge of the Sith, and there's just music that just plays, and it's the most tension-building thing ever. And I'm just sitting there, and I would say that specifically to pick my favorite moment in this entire 4 episodes, it is the 2 to 3 minutes where Ahsoka and Rex are having a moment, and she calls him, they have a moment where they admit they're best friends, which you wouldn't fully appreciate because you haven't watched the entire show, and I have. And Rex did not like Ahsoka when they first met. He was like, "Oh, stupid kid, I'm your commanding officer." He kind of treated her like crap. And now to see them come all the way towards the end of this, where they're standing equal side by side as friends that actually care about one another, like that has such an emotional impact on people who have been watching this show for 10 years now. And when he just like takes off, and I gotta spoil this, man. Fuck it, I don't care. This is my favorite 3 minutes of the show. Fuck it. Skip ahead if you want to hear. Rex gets called into the back room, and he says it's an important call, an update on what's happening. And then Ahsoka you hear it. She senses the disturbance in the Force. It's Order 66. It's happening. And then when when she turns around, and Rex pulls his guns on her, and he has that slight tear come down his cheek as he's trying to stop himself doing it. And then the music that kicks in following all that. That's the best 3 minutes of Star Wars I've watched since The Last Jedi. I haven't had those 2 to 3 minutes. That's it. One of my favorite things ever.
Yeah.
Because it pulls off Order 66 better than the movie did. Because it actually has way more build-up, tension, and because it focuses solely on 2 characters.
Well, because you've got people from both sides that you care about.
Yeah, and where you know the clone that's trying to kill the Jedi has a relationship, where they never did that in the movies. So
yeah, pretty great. All good. It did end on like a super somber note, but I guess there was no way it was going to end up with like a happy ending or anything. No. It kind of.
Well, that's the thing. You know, Ahsoka doesn't die, but it doesn't mean they have to have an ending where it's like, and she'll be back in Rebels. No, it's super fucking sad. Like all her friends are dying.
Yeah.
Fucking all these people are dying for no reason. She senses something's fucking happened to Anakin. You know, like it's dark.
Yeah. So another show that ended this week that also ended very somberly, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. I really enjoyed this show. This is 12 episodes long. You can watch it on Stan. We talked about it before, but involves a girl who, after being involved in like a freak accident inside an MRI machine, she can hear people's thoughts delivered through song.
I remember this.
And then she has to. She feels obligated to help people with their problems. Otherwise, they'll keep singing to her, and that's not good. This ends on a very sad note, but this show, week to week, just makes me feel all the emotions somehow. There's just a super charming cast. It's not like extravagant musical numbers, because obviously it's like on a TV show budget schedule. It's pretty hard to do like extravagant La La Land musical numbers with 50, 60 people dancing around all over the place. And mostly it ends up just being tracking shots of them dancing around the office or something like that. But yeah, this definitely one of the shows this year that's surprised me and has definitely made an impact. And it's definitely something I recommend people watching during this time where everything is depressing. Because, you know, while there is depressing stuff in it, there's also some like heart-warming stuff and spirit-lifting content. So I would definitely check that out if you want to get out of your glum state, but also end up more glum because of the ending. Hell of an ending. Let's talk about the other show that ended this week. What's the show's ending? Westworld Season 3. Cue the Bevanworld intro.
Yeah, rip. So Westworld Season 3, as I talked about on here, I thought it was off to a great start. And it took a sharp dive into the rubbish bin at the end of the season, unfortunately, which doesn't turn me off from continuing to watch it, because I feel like Westworld is it constantly is like really big highs, and then I'm like, oh, this show just went to shit, and then it'll come back up, and I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying it, and then I'll be like, oh, it's gone to shit. But the finale was kind of just playing into a lot of sci-fi cliches with some too many action scenes, and it was just a whole episode of like fighting, explosions, over expedition on plot, big bad guy twirling his mustache, and now we're fucking ending on this rather weird note to end the season 3 on, and it's like doesn't really get you excited for season 4, which is really weird because they have 2 after credit sequences that are super intriguing for where the 4th season could go, but the actual legit ending of the show is just like yawn. This was boring. Aaron Paul's supposed to be the new hero of the fucking franchise apparently, so that's a cool story, everyone. But no, I think I gave it a 5 on Trakt. I wasn't a big fan of the finale. But overall, the season, the majority of the episodes were great. The first 3/4 were great. Just ended bad.
I feel like shows often kind of suffer a little bit when, the first season after they kind of break away from their initial premise. Like when, they go beyond the park and they step beyond those kind of limits that they'd previously set themselves a little bit. They often can falter and they can sometimes feel a bit directionless. Is that what happened here, or is it just a bit bland writing?
No, I mean, in a lot of ways, season 2 was kind of a bridge to get this show from the park to out of the park. Season 2 was weird. It did lots of weird things to get them outside. And then starting this season was oh, it's not Westworld, but it is Westworld. It's got some same characters, but overall, it doesn't feel like the show at all. And then they try and do these other weird things and whatever else. And in a lot of ways, it's just, I don't know. I feel like they tried to do too much and then not enough. And I don't know if that even makes sense, but that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like they knew what they were doing at the start, and then by the time they got to the season finale, they were like, how do we finish the season? This'll do, fucking whatever. They've already announced they're doing season 4. They announced the 4th season only halfway into this season, so the numbers must have been high enough at HBO or whatever, I guess. I'm hoping the 4th season's the last at this stage, because I feel like they're already kind of pushing the storyline as far as it can go, and they've set themselves to have. They need to just end it at this point. Just do one more season. End it.
Yeah. What do you think it'll be out next year, or is it going to be 2022?
I guess all of that depends on COVID-19 shit.
Yeah, that's true. Who's the old guy in the show? Because apparently he's not very keen on being on the show still.
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, yeah.
Yeah, so they changed what they did with his character this season was not much. Which is, I suppose, disappointing for him, because the previous couple seasons he got to play a badass cowboy wielding dude who was constantly in these action scenes and having big monologues and whatever else. And then what they do with him in this season is they spend half of it not using him, and then when they do, it wasn't super exciting. And although the way they set up his character for the next season, he should be more interested in playing the role, given where it goes. But yeah, this season, not much. Cool.
So I watched the TV series High Fidelity. Now, have you either of you familiar with the film High Fidelity?
Yes.
No.
Dylan?
Yeah.
Yes. So
no, I haven't watched it. I know what it is, though.
Okay, cool. This show might be my favorite new show that I've watched this year. So it followed. Oh, wow. It's an adaptation of the same novel that the movie High Fidelity, starring John Cusack, was based on. I've since gone back after watching and watched the movie, because I hadn't watched it prior. There are scenes and lines taken almost verbatim, almost shot verbatim. With in the new version, it's Zoe Kravitz instead of John Cusack, although she's also called Rob, but it's short for Robin. Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. It was very interesting to go back and watch that film after watching this show, because I feel like the show just fleshed out all these moments, stretched them out, and then the movie was all the moments being squished together, when really it's the opposite
When's the
way
movie?
around.
Early 90s?
Hang on, I had it here a second ago.
To kind of put it in perspective for people, I don't think it's early 90s.
2000.
It's not 80s. Oh, geez, 2000. There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, pretty much she's working at a record. She's a record store owner. She's just broken up with her boyfriend, and then she goes throughout the season. She's talking to the camera at the same time. It's very much like Fleabag, which I loved last year. It very kind of feels like an American version of the first season of Fleabag, but maybe not as raunchy as the first season Fleabag was. But yeah, great time. Love Zoe Kravitz. I've seen the light. I don't think I'd seen her in much prior to this, because I hadn't watched Big Little Lies and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I've seen her in heaps, but I guess all the stuff I've watched her in, you haven't watched.
I haven't watched. Yeah, so yeah, even though she's not like the most likable person, it's like she's
Harry
got her
Potter?
own problems. That can't.
I mean, whatever it's called, that shit series of Harry Potter films. What are they called? I don't remember.
Fantastic
Beasts.
Oh, that's right. She was in a couple of those. Yeah, that wasn't enough to impress me.
A
And
couple
she was
of
in
those
like
has only been 2.
she was on like 5 minutes of Mad Max Fury Road. That's about it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, great in this. She has the great supporting cast. Divine Joy Randolph plays the Jack Black part from the original film. So that's switched up from being Jack Black to being like a black woman, but fits perfectly. And it, like they also have is it David H. Holmes to play the other employee who in the original film was like a weird, like quiet record nerd. In this one, he is still a nerd, but he's more like he's a gay hipster type, that kind of thing. So they've definitely brought the entire film forward 20 years, and different. They've played the joke slightly different and that kind of thing. I think in the original, they've got this scene where they don't want to sell a record to somebody because it's like a poppy, like mainstream thing. In this one, they don't want to sell a person a record because it's Michael Jackson. They're like, can we sell Michael Jackson's record? It's like they have a debate about it. But yeah, I would definitely check it out. It is available completely free on ABC iView. All 10 episodes are only like 22, 30 minutes an episode. Easy to watch in one day.
If you like watching in 480p.
Listen,
I was about to like iView bitrate
Listen.
resolution.
it's worth it.
Let me put it this way: the last time I tried to watch something that was on like one of these free Australian services, it was
it's not that bad.
what's it, the Donald Glover one that was on SBS or whatever. Fuck, what's the
Atlanta?
name? Atlanta, right? I got halfway through watching the season of that, and then I just went to iTunes and brought the couple episodes more I needed because I couldn't handle the shitty bitrate streaming anymore. For those that care, Ash, it is a problem.
I don't think. I think that they've upgraded the like quality. I think of this.
Yeah, maybe for you and your fucking high sense.
It works fine on my PS4.
TV over here.
It works fine on my PS4. God. But yeah,
It's not the PS4 that's the problem, it's the TV that's the problem, actually.
That Dick Smith brand.
no.
Dick Smith.
Jesus Christ. But yes, definitely check out High Fidelity. I might write something up about it, but no promises. Also checked out a show called Everything Is Going to Be Okay, created by Australian comedian Josh Thomas, who previously did Please Like Me. It follows him. He plays like a 25-year-old Australian who's currently visiting his father and half-sisters over in America. And then his father, before he's about to head home, his father reveals he's got cancer and is about to die. I
don't want to watch it.
Yeah. And then he's kind of left, like, he takes on the responsibility of being his two half-sisters' guardians. One of them is autistic, and the other one is kind of a bitch. Okay, no. In the description on Wikipedia, it says Nicholas's 14-year-old half-sister who's described as angry. And then,
angry. Is this just
Kind of a bitch.
this Josh Thomas just being Josh Thomas, or
Yeah, it is Josh Thomas being Josh Thomas. If
Okay.
you've seen anything with Josh Thomas, he definitely plays that childish, gay-like type of role. But it is super endearing. It's super cute. It got me right in the emotional feels from the first episode. And I think a large part of that's to do with Kayla Kramer, who plays Matilda, his autistic half-sister. She herself is autistic, so it's like that probably is the reason she got the part and that kind of thing. But they get into like some deep stuff, like deep, like teenage stuff, you know. But
No.
it feels
no, Ash? What do you mean? Explain.
you know, sex,
Ooh,
boys.
the S word.
It well. You know, whether
The birds and the bees, please, sir.
the word statutory rape is thrown around. So
Okay.
there is a couple of episodes
You
that
You
have
took this in a different
Holy
direction.
fuck.
a couple of episodes that have to end with like a lifeline kind of thing and that kind of stuff. So there's some deep subject matter in this.
You took this from teenage stuff sex to teenage stuff statutory rape.
Statutory rape. It's like
How do you go? That's
you
not
should've
teenage
led
stuff.
with that. You
I
should've
didn't
led
want to
with that.
spoil it.
That is not teenage stuff. That is
I don't know. No,
that's-
if he's 18 and you're 17,
yeah.
Technically.
But if you hear about rape, why is it like, oh, that's a teenage thing? Yeah.
all right. But that's on Stan. You can check out all 10 episodes. Again, they're like 20, 30 minutes each. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's pretty good stuff. And then I would also recommend everybody go watch Onward, which is currently on Disney Plus, the Pixar film that was destroyed by coronavirus. It was out for like
Wow.
2 days before cinemas closed everywhere.
Was that the last screening you went to?
That is the last cinema experience I went to.
There you go.
No, that's not true. I went to see Bloodshot after.
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
Man, that was your last cinema experience.
Oh gosh.
I could have ended on a high, but no.
But no, Vin Diesel was calling your name.
Yeah, he was. He said, bang, bang. I don't know. So, I had to get my Vin Diesel fixed because I wasn't getting Fast Furious this year.
Oh
Yeah, Onward, I watched it again, and he still hit me super hard. I still enjoyed it, even though I knew it was coming. Yeah, it's beautifully animated. Looks great on Disney Plus. I believe they've got very high pixels.
They do. They
Yeah.
do have
Do you mean
higher
they,
bit-
do you mean
have
they
higher
have
bit
high
rates.
quality
High
bit
quality
rates
images.
and-
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All them
funny.
techie terms.
Could be
You get
something
what you
like
pay
a
for.
premium streaming service, you know?
Yeah. Crazy.
Not,
By the
you
way,
know-
just to chuck this on, since the whole Bloodshot being your last movie at the cinema, it spiked my interest. The last movie I saw at the cinema was Sonic the Hedgehog. I had to double check. Sonic the
that's
Hedgehog.
both, you know, you didn't, if that was the last movie you ever get to watch in a cinema for whatever reason, cinemas don't come back. I hope
I'm
you
gonna be
were
honest.
both.
I'm
very
not
disappointed.
actually that disappointed because Sonic wasn't actually.
I mean, the
Terrible.
last thing you saw before walking out of the cinema was that stinger.
And the stinger was great. So
Yeah. Stinger was
There you go.
good.
can we
For a
just
lot of
spoil
views
this
to
thing now?
explosionetwork.com.
Should
I think it's
people
been long
who've
enough, and I'm not going
it's
to watch
been-
it. What's this thing?
skip ahead a minute if you care, but I swear you've seen Sonic now if you care about.
It's out on
Sonic stingers.
VOD. You can watch it now.
Yeah, it's
Then
out.
come
Just
back.
fucking pause this, watch it, come back. So the after credit scene is Tails comes in.
I
And-
guessed. Yeah, okay.
Tails looks awesome because they've like it's proper Tails, not like
Not-
fucked up with teeth Tails. Like they didn't weirdly backpedal on that somehow. But yeah, it's like Tails comes in with a tracker and he's like, oh, he must be here somewhere, and then he like stops flapping the tail and flies off into distance to find Sonic. So next movie supposedly would be Tails and Sonic team up, which I'm all about that. You know.
Yeah. So hopefully, I think it did well enough for them to do a sequel from memory.
Oh, it's one of the highest grossing movies of the year, Ash. I don't know if you checked the box office, but
Yeah, I can't argue with that. So now, Dylan, you can take a break. You can put your microphone down because I'm going to be talking about some anime. So I watched the 2 seasons of the anime Mob Psycho 100.
Oh, okay,
yes.
cool.
So that's created by the guy called he's called One. Don't know why. But he created One Punch Man. And it's set in Tokyo with like this kid who's nicknamed Mob. He's got these mystical powers, ESP or whatever. He can do shit with his mind, that kind of thing. And it's sort of set in that world where he's like exercising souls and doing different supernatural stuff. Super well animated. I think the second season just won like the Crunchyroll Anime of the Year award. So
I believe so,
You know,
yeah,
it is high quality stuff. It looks incredible. It's definitely of that genre of like, you know, beat up monsters and you know, like Bleach and that kind of thing. that kind of genre. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely one to check out. Mob is not the most interesting character. He's super bland, but it's like funny bland. But he's trying to get that girl. That's his goal. And he's got an interesting group of supporting characters around him, including his master, finger quotation marks there,
air quotes,
who pretends to be an exorcist but has absolutely no abilities at all, and is pretty much using Mob to taking advantage of him to do all the work. And yeah, he's super fun. Everything about this is great. I think it's only like 23 episodes, something like that. So if you've got Crunchyroll, Anime Lab, definitely one to check out. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. So today, at time of release, the new series, The Eddy, comes out. What is The Eddy and why should people care about The Eddy?
The Eddy is a hard show to explain, so let me get the IMDb synopsis. IMDb synopsis is: a French club owner deals with the everyday chaos of running a live music venue in the heart of Paris. That's a shit synopsis. So the series is 8 episodes, and it's equal parts jazz musical and about a band called the Eddy that plays inside a jazz club in Paris called the Eddy, and the show follows the manager of the band and also one of the owners of the club as he attempts to get the jazz band to be successful and the club to be successful, and deals with like relationships, and his kid comes there and you're dealing with like family stuff and all this sort of stuff. That's side A of the show.
And the manager's name is also Eddy.
No, it's Elliot.
His name... It's Elliot, yeah. It starts with E, so it's close. So that's one side of the show, and that sounds interesting enough, sure. The other side of the show is like a crime drama dealing with the underworld of Paris, because one of the co-owners of the Eddy, who handles the books and the non-musical stuff, not to say he's like not into the music, but like the more businessy side of stuff, he gets involved with the Ukrainian mob, basically. And then they end up owing a bunch of money, and then Elliot gets dragged into this side of the business that he didn't want to be involved in, and he's then having to try and deal with that while trying to still deal with the everyday club stuff and help make the band be successful and all this sorts of stuff.
Dealing with his daughter,
I think that's
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain because it's just kind of all over the show, but in a sort of good way. So the guy who wrote it is Jack Thorne. And he's done stuff like Skins and these other sort of British dramatic series before. He was involved with writing some of This Is England, which is another show I really like. And that's important because I think like the structure to the show is similar to something like Skins, where the first and last episodes are kind of just this ensemble episode setting up and ending the overall story. But throughout the 6 episodes in between, the episode will open with a character's name, and then that episode will sort of focus on that character primarily, even though it's still like taking you through the entire plot. It'll just kind of focus on that character as much as it can. And they'll do that to characters like Elliot's daughter, who's played by, what is it?
Amanda Stelberg?
Amandel Stenberg, yeah. Who people would know mostly from the Hunger Games, I guess, like primarily.
She was Prue, yeah.
Like, yeah, so...
more recently, The Hate I Give.
Yeah, which was... she got lots of critical acclaim for. Hate You Give, which she got heaps of acclaim for. And then other characters like Maja, I'm not sure how you say it because it's French or whatever, but who got lots of acclaim last year because she was in Cold War, and all this sort of stuff. But I guess I really enjoy the show because I guess I'm down with the music and how much it's willing to spend time showing you the music. And a key important factor with the show is everyone in the band are real musicians. So a lot of them are first-time actors or small-time actors on the side. In fact, the piano player in the band, if you look him up on IMDb, he's got like nearly 200 credits as music supervisor, and he's involved with heaps of Hollywood music movies and whatever. And so all of them are actually playing their instruments. All of them are, she's really singing, and they're just filming and play live on set, and that's how it works. And that adds a lot to a show like this where it's built around the music, and to a point where the first 2 episodes of this are directed by Damien Chazelle, who is most famous, of course, for La La Land, Whiplash, last year's The First Man. And I'm a huge fan of, I mean, I like all 3 movies, but I'm obviously a huge fan of La La Land, and I love Whiplash as well. And what he brings to this in those first 2 episodes is this very cinematic style of shooting where it's raw. It's like the camera's panning around constantly to these people playing music, and these super close-up shots of people playing the fucking trumpet in a way that you don't usually see them shoot them. And it's just sort of, he knows how to shoot that stuff, and he gets really involved with it. And that's kind of what he brought to I remember watching Whiplash for the first time, and the way he shoots that movie, and the way he just gets like has Miles Teller play the drums, and like the way he all shoots it, it's just like this very visceral way that I'd never seen someone shoot an instrument or someone playing an instrument before. And that carries over into this. And even though he doesn't direct all the episodes, I think he kind of sets the tone with those first 2, and everyone else has to follow through with similar sorts of style, even though it has 3 different directors throughout it. I really enjoyed it. I can't remember what I gave it. What did I give it? Like an 8.5? Something like that? If you want to double check. But I think I thought it was quite good. It has
8.5.
some problems with pacing. It's not going to be for everyone because it is quite happy to have an hour 10 long episodes each one. Not all of those needed to be that long. Because it's like if someone sits down in this show to practice playing their instrument, they're going to have 5 to 10 minutes of them practicing that instrument, and that's how they're expressing the emotional state of that character in the show. Like they're going to play the trumpet sad, and they're going to sit there and show you them playing it sad, and that's how they express characters' motivational states in the show. They don't have like them sitting there crying and sad music in the background. Like the show doesn't have a proper score because everyone plays music, and that's how it comes through in the show. I really enjoyed all the characters because they're super flawed, and all of them are easy to hate and love at the same time. Like everyone has a scene nearly where you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like there's not a single character. I don't know, like some members of the band, you're like, oh, they're all around good, but the main characters that you follow, all of them have flaws that make them interesting and real characters, and that's kind of why I enjoy it. But also another reason I could see people disliking it, especially because Elliot, as the main character, is quite volatile, and he yells at the band a lot. He yells at his daughter a lot. But I think by the time you get to the end of the show, you kind of understand more about him, and how I think I might just, in my review, I just described it as a man who feels like he's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders at all time. And by the end of it, I understood him better and why he kind of acts like that. And then, yeah, I mean, you've watched some of it, Ash.
I'm like 3 episodes in. If it wasn't clear, it's set in France. There's a lot of French.
I should, but to be fair, I would say yes, there is French in it, but there's a lot more English than I expected going into it, considering it's set in Paris.
I think just based on like Damien Chazelle, I'm like, oh, there's going to be a fair bit of this in English, and the occasional person speaking French. But yeah, there is a lot of subtitles. Yeah, it is beautifully shot. There's a lot of long tracking shots through the club as they're doing performances and that kind of stuff. All the characters so far are interesting. Obviously, the first episode ends on the like setup tone. Event happens that kind of sets the motions for the rest of the season. But yeah, it's definitely a show that needs your full attention. I think that's probably why I've only watched the first 3 episodes. I'm like, I'm not in the mood to sit down and watch this.
I binged it. I was so attached.
You're so in. Yeah, the music's great. Like, I'm not a jazz person, but like, especially I think in the 3rd episode, there's this big party. Celebration sort of thing where everybody's performing at the same time and getting into the mood and that kind of thing. And yeah, it's a good show. Keen to finish it.
I love the music, and I can't wait for them to have the proper soundtrack on Spotify, because to make due, ever since I've watched it, I've been listening to this Spotify playlist that's like a mix of Whiplash, La La Land, and other sorts of similar jazzy type music, because this watching the show got me in the mood to just listen to that sort of stuff. And I cried twice in the show, and it was both just during musical pieces, because the music just told the story of like what's happening at the moment. I think there's one part like about at around episode 4 or 5 where this thing happens and everyone starts playing this music for a certain reason and it's beautiful. And then there's also a thing that happens in the finale where like no one needs to say anything. It's just what's happening with the music is enough. So yeah, I want season 2. They leave it open for a season 2. So yeah, give me season 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would. I'm not sure if it was listed as a limited series or not, but
it was listed as limited. But the way it ends definitely is like, yeah, we could do another one.
We could do the Eddy 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, sure.
French Boogaloo. Talking about limited series, I reviewed Hollywood, the new series from Ryan Murphy in Brennan for Netflix. It takes place in the golden age of Hollywood. It's like the 1940s. I think it ends in 1948, so around that time. Following like a cast of characters all sort of working together to make this film happen. Most important thing going in is this is a rewrite of history. It's like kind of like Inglourious Bastards. Events take place that change the course of history and try to make it better. Mainly, the core thing they're doing this season is making the first film starring a person of color in like a proper role. It also happens to be written by a black gay man, played by Jeremy Pope, who's one of the shining lights of this show, although there is a bunch of shining lights. So if you're like hardcore history buff, this might rub you the wrong way. I feel like because there is an element of, hey, we're going to fix racism. We're going to fix homophobia to the series, which I think might rub people the wrong way, or I've read places that people have called it soulless and that kind of thing. I don't think it is, but I really enjoyed it, even though it does get a little bit self-congratulatory towards the end, a bit pat on itself on the back and that kind of thing. But I love the cast. David Corensweth, I think it is David Corensweth, who I watched in The Politician last year. He's the lead. Well, he's the first person you're introduced to. Jack Costello, who's aspiring actor trying to get into Hollywood, and his way into Hollywood is working at a gas station, which also doubles as a brothel, a high-end prostitution ring place. So, and then through that he gets connections and that kind of thing. So it is a ride. There's a long road to the end of the film. But again, great cast of characters. I enjoy it. While the young cast is really good, it's the older, like more seasoned actors, people like Patti LuPone and Holland Taylor and Joe Mantello, who play like more of the executive side, the people who decision makers and that kind of thing. And they've all got their own personal stories and flaws, and they've all got their own reasons for trying to get this film made, that kind of thing. It's really enjoyable. One thing that's probably going to, again, rub people the wrong way is Jim Parson plays the agent...
Cody Banks.
No. So Jim Parson plays the agent Henry Wilson, who in history is known as a bit of a... He's like a precursor to a Harvey Weinstein kind of person. Like, he's the people who would represent would have to provide him with certain services to get roles and that kind of thing. And he was more of a... He was more...
I love Ashley describing these kind of things. It's just, it's great.
It's not even tripping over your words. It's just not
trying to find the correct... Okay, so I wrote, he was known to coerce his clients into homosexual relationships in exchange for publicity and film roles. So it's like he's doing these despicable things, but is really fun to watch on screen because he does like these foul-mouthed rants and that kind of stuff, and he's trying to mold this guy, Roy Fitzgerald, into Rock Hudson, who is like a known actor of the time period, but also was was known to be gay or like was rumored to be gay, so they've kind of brought that to the forefront of his character. There are a lot of historical figures in this film as well. Vivian Leigh, I believe, from like Gone to the Wind, she makes a cameo, and some other actresses who are more pivotal to the story and maybe spoiler like. But yeah, I had a great time. It's only 8 episodes, 7 or 8 episodes. I think
isn't it?
7. Yeah, I think they could have used another episode because towards the end they sort of time jump a lot, and a lot of the relationships sort of like fast forward. Like someone's only starting a relationship in this episode. Next episode, he's proposing, and that kind of thing, and a lot of that in the last probably episode.
Maybe they filmed 14 or something at the time, and they're literally just going to hold the second season until later in the year.
No, it's a limited series. This is it.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
You sure?
yes, it's limited series, mini series. It's everywhere. So I love the aesthetic, and if this got you enough, just watch the trailer for the series. I think it's probably my favorite trailer I've watched this year. I think it's just cut perfectly, beautiful music. You make a good point. Best TV trailer I've seen this year.
Okay.
All right, that'll make you happy. All right, so check out Hollywood on Netflix now. Also coming out now, day of release. Dead to Me, Season 2. Christina Applegate. Linda Cardellini. Dylan, what'd you think?
So as of recording, I've only watched 6 of the 10 episodes. Because that's all I got given access to. So I don't have a final thoughts or score yet, but I've been very much enjoyed my 6 episodes, and I'm trying not to spoil anything. And in fact, I don't even know, like, I feel like a lot of people didn't watch this. So I don't even know if I want to spoil what happens in the first season, considering it's on this podcast. Like, my review spoils the first season because I'm talking about the second season. That's a given. So I'll kind of just pitch it this way. The second season is better than the first season. And if you haven't watched the first season, you should, because then you can go watch the second season, which is great. And the first season, so now I'm reviewing the first season. Fuck it. Let's just go backwards in time. The first season pitch, the synopsis, the IMDb thing says, a series about a powerful friendship that blossoms between a tightly wound widow and a free spirit with a shocking secret. The show is about Christina Applegate's character, Jen. At the start of the show, her husband is killed in a car accident. And then she's struggling with that and being a widowed mother. She's got 2 kids and like dealing with that. And the show is a comedy / drama. I wouldn't say dark comedy because it's kind of like it's dramatic at times and then it's just a comedy at times. It doesn't really interweave the lines too often to be a dark comedy. But so this other woman shows up at because Christina Applegate's character starts attending these group therapy type things for people who are going through a similar thing. And there she meets this lady called Judy, who's played by Linda Cardellini. And if you don't know Linda Cardellini, you should, because I think she's super underrated and she hasn't been in enough stuff. Like, she's most famous for Velma and Scooby-Doo, probably, or
Hawkeye's wife.
Wives in Brokeback Mountain or something. What?
She's Hawkeye's wife.
Yeah, or Hawkeye's wife, I guess, if that's... But she's not in it that much, like, to be...
Yeah, but people know. Straight away.
She's Hawkeye's wife. And she's great, yeah. So Linda Cardellini's character is like the free-spirited one and kind of hippie-ish or whatever. And Christina Applegate's character is kind of your more stereotypical suburban mum character. And their lives get interwoven. Judy has some secrets. By the end of the first season, these secrets come to the front, and some dark, messed up shit kind of gets revealed and happens. And the second season is continuing on from that. And the way it takes the storyline is into truly interesting places. I did not think they would take it, given at the end of the first season. But yeah, so the second season is great, but I really think more people need to watch the first one, so you should go watch it. They're only 23-minute episodes, 10 of them in the first season. So it's one of those shows you can just binge in one afternoon very easily, which is how I did it the first time. And then catch up for season 2, which is out as of today. And check back for my full score, because hopefully I've got the last 4 episodes by then, because I got left on a fucking cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's a rough time sometimes, but yeah.
Yep.
Dear to me. So I checked out a couple of new movies that Netflix have done. First, I'll talk about Tiger Tail, which is directed by Alan Yang, who did... he was a writer on Parks and Rec, but he co-created Master of None. It follows the life of a guy called Pinju from his early days in Thailand, sort of to his life in America, kind of intercut with him currently much older. His mother's passed away. He's disconnected with his daughter. And they're trying to reconnect, he's a very quiet old Asian man. So, he kind of pushes in his feelings. It's kind of a story about the immigrant experience and that kind of thing. It's fine. I don't think it's like super impressive. Like there's no like shortage of these kind of films, and there's not a lot that makes it stand out other than probably Z Ma's performance is very good, and Kristen Ko, who plays his daughter, I believe, also has got a certain charm about her, but it's all right. I wouldn't recommend it like as a must see kind of thing, but for diversity's sake, it's a good film, but it's definitely not one I would recommend watching straight away. The other one I will recommend is The Half of It, which is directed by Alice Wu, starring Leah Lewis, Daniel Duma, Alexis Mee, Lemire, and Colin Chow. It's kind of like Cyrano's de Bergerac like film. So there's a guy who's in love with a girl, and he wants to get with the girl, but he doesn't know how to win her over. So he gets help from a person. So in this film, that's Alice Chu, played by Ellie Chu, and she helps Paul to try and get Asta to start dating him. But the twist here is that Ellie is in love with Asta as well.
Oh shit!
Oh shit! Yeah. So it's like Ellie is like a model student, like A+ student, like knows how to write, and her and has to have these lovely texts and messages to each other. While Paul is not exactly the brightest bulb in the shed, but he's like sweet and super nice, and he's like Alice's first friend. Like, so it's more about their relationship more than possibly like bonding together and finding this platonic friendship, rather than potentially the Asta relationship thing, which kind of pivots at a certain point, but sort of is the two plot lines working together to build this beautiful story. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I've seen it be compared to Dear Simon. I think it might be, it's probably on that kind of level for that kind of genre of film. So
I'm in.
Yes, I figured that might be a selling point. So yeah, so definitely check it out. The Half of It. It's on Netflix. All right, so that's everything in our watch histories. So let's move into the news for this episode. And things have got interesting between Universal Pictures and the cinemas over in America. So if you didn't know, Universal made the bold choice to release Trolls World Tour on VOD in America, rather than wait for a cinema release like a lot of the other films that were scheduled to be released around the time. Films like Mulan, Black Widow, everything kind of got pushed to later in the year. But
Fast and Furious. Not
Trolls World Tour. They shoved that out the door. And it has since become one of the most successful films ever on streaming, on video demand or digitally. Let's see. Universal announced that Trolls World Tour is the highest grossing VOD title in terms of revenue, and apparently this record doesn't just apply to Universal films, but stands across any studio. This is such a big deal that the Trolls World Tour numbers are approximately 10 times higher than that of Universal's next biggest opening day for a traditional digital release. Mind you, this was available for rent for 30 days for $19.99 American with a limited 48-hour limit viewing period. straight away, this got in the nose of American cinemas, such to the point that AMC, one of the biggest chains over in America, have announced that they're going to ban all future Universal Picture films from being shown in their cinemas. Especially seeing as Universal isn't backing down and is saying that premium VOD is going to be a complementary element to their theatrical releases in the future. I believe also Regal Theaters, another major chain over in America, have said that they won't screen any film that breaks the theatrical window. So I guess any film that is released VOD at the same time as a theatrical release. Whose side is the right side? I mean, it is. We've still got like months before this becomes an actual issue, like an actual thing that we need to be concerned about. But it's an interesting one to see play out at the moment.
I feel like there's a lot of circumstantial kind of events around this because, everybody, it's Trolls World Tour. Like, it's not like it is a massive kids movie. It's just Trolls World Tour.
I think you'll find the money says it is a massive kids movie when they're stuck at home with nothing to watch.
No, but that's because the circumstantialness around it is the fact that it was released at a time where parents have nothing to do with their children because they're locked up inside. A new kids movie comes out and they're like, bam, let's put it on for kids. Like, I think that severely bolsters the purchase rate and the buys for the VOD.
Oh, absolutely. That's
like,
the only reason.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think so. For that thing, I think cinemas, for me, I think it's a really stupid idea for cinemas to do this. Not because of, I understand the premise. I understand the whole why you could find it frustrating as a cinema to do this. I think this is a case of choose what hill you're willing to die on, because as a cinema, there's, AMC does this, and all the other large cinema brands that aren't going to side with them are currently licking their lips going, sweet, we're going to have more people coming to us to watch Fast and Furious when it comes out.
I don't know, because, a lot of these, like, it's a one theater town usually in these kind of large areas. Like it's
a one theater town.
Yeah,
so
it's either
it sucks for those
an AMC or it's a Regal or it's a whatever.
Sucks if it's AMC, but for then you're telling me that people from those towns that really want to see the new Fast and Furious movie aren't going to travel to a nearby town to watch it? I would put they would.
I don't know, Dylan. If it wasn't shown at your local Launceston cinema, would you drive all the way to Melbourne to watch Fast and Furious 9?
Ashley Hobley. It is impossible for me to drive on water.
Drive to wherever the
Hobart?
Hobart is the obvious
He refuses to say it because he started this whole idea and then he was like, if I say Hobart,
he'll
Dylan will
say
say yes because he's done that before. So then he's like, would you drive to Melbourne? I'll put it
Which
this
is
way,
like,
Ash.
then it's like,
if I could drive to Hobart, to Melbourne, yes, I would drive to Melbourne to watch Fast and Furious.
Okay.
If I could drive to Melbourne, moving there would become probably a lot easier of a proposition potentially.
Okay, would you drive to Hobart to watch Jurassic World Dominion?
No. Because I haven't even watched Jurassic.
But I just don't think,
Whatever
I
it's
don't know,
called.
I don't think, unless all of the cinemas collectively said, screw you, Universal, we're not showing you stuff, I think that's the only way it would have an impact. But the thing is, that's not going to happen. Because some cinemas are just going to be like, no, Universal, we'll take your money. We'll take the money from it, thanks. Appreciate it.
I think AMC are being stupid because it's as simple as, look, COVID-19, world's in a horrible place. It's a one-off. Just take the L. And if the world returns to normal and Universal keeps doing it, then you can raise arms and be like, hey, There's no reason to do this anymore. You're breaking the agreement that cinemas have with movie publishers. Stop it. But at the moment, it's kind of just like all cinemas should just be like, what are we going to do? Like, the world's fucked. Just take the L. Move on.
To be fair, it's specifically... hang on, let me just pull up the quotes. I think Jeffrey Shell had the CEO of NBC Universal had an interview with the Wall Street Journal. The quote that is listed, he said, "The results for Trolls World Tour have exceeded our expectations and have demonstrated the viability of PVOD. As soon as theaters reopen, we expect to release movies on both formats." So he said
the thing is, they're
going to release both.
But I don't see them doing, for their larger movies, I don't see them releasing them on VOD. Like, I don't see.
But then why would you show the smaller movies?
Because may as well so there's more opportunity for people to get their hands on it. It's the same reason why studios or people make these straight to DVD movies. It's why there's been like 1 billion Scooby-Doo movies on DVD straight away and not gone. Like, it's just because there still is some market there for it. It's just not enough market to put it in the cinemas.
I don't know. I feel like AMC and Regal are not in a position to have this fight at the moment.
No, definitely. I think it's
you're both like on the cusp of bankruptcy, so I don't think it's a position where beggars really can't be choosers. And I don't think when movie theaters are open again, that premium video on demand is going to be something people are going to be wanting. You just need to look again. I think we've discussed it either here or off air. You look at the comment sections of any of these movies on iTunes or on Google Play. They're all complaining about the price of the film because it's obviously at a premium price because it's being released early. So I don't realistically think that there will be a huge market for, I can watch some movie the same day it releases in cinemas for the same price that I would have paid for a movie ticket.
Why didn't you just go back to the Jurassic World Dominion?
No, because people would do that.
If we return to normal and Universal starts putting all their pictures out day and date for rent at the $20 price tag, then other cinemas will follow AMC's decision, and then AMC will be the ones losing that battle. Is what I think would happen.
You really?
You mean Universal will be the ones losing that battle? Yep, you said AMC. That's why I was double checking.
No, so if all the cinemas, if all the cinemas start following AMC,
yes,
the world returns to normal. All the cinemas are like,
blacklist
fuck you, Universal.
Yeah.
Then Universal doesn't win that battle because the amount of money they're going to get from people willing to pay $20 is not the same as they make at the box office. Because I could guarantee that more people who would maybe don't really care about Fast and Furious, they'd be more likely to go see it for $10 at the cinema than renting it for $20 to watch at home on their tiny fucking TV. They'll be like, I ain't paid for that. I'll go cinema and watch it for half the price on a bigger screen. There's lots of people that still like the cinema experience. It just won't hold
Two of them are on this podcast.
Damn right.
I like the cinema experience.
What was the last movie you saw before quarantine?
I don't go to the cinema as much as you guys, but I go to the cinema. It's okay, leave me alone. It was probably Star Wars, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I think it was Star Wars.
Okay.
I miss the cinema.
Yeah.
Nah, there's something else that's been out this year that I'm not sure though.
I remember when I had a reason to
leave the house on purpose. A reason to leave the house other than work.
Yep.
Groceries. Usually it's the same trip. Yeah. Sad. Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? It's still going to be a long way off, I think. Do you suspect theaters will be open soon. Like, obviously, we live in a world where they can choose. We can choose seating. They can obviously make it so a certain number of people are spread apart. Do you see cinemas potentially opening anytime soon?
I don't think so.
Not in Australia.
No. Maybe in some states because they start laxing. Like,
Maybe in
rules
America
like
because
that.
they're dumb as fuck.
Yeah, but I think stuff like that is such a bad idea. Like, just the whole being in that enclosed space with potentially a lot of people is just...
I wouldn't go to cinemas if they open next week.
No, thank you.
What would it take for you to go to cinemas?
A vaccine.
Got him.
Okay, here's a better question. What movies about to release would you risk going to cinema to see?
Is there any fucking movies about to release though? They're all being delayed.
No, they're like
No
It'd have to be depend on what
another 2 months, and then the movies in July haven't been moved yet. Tenet is obviously the big one that has been penciled in by a lot of cinema chains. Is like we'd really like to be open before this one comes out. Would you risk?
Nah, there's nothing. I've got to a stage, but having to go to work and deal with this shit constantly has got my anxiety level so high that I just don't leave the house when I don't have to go to work. So I honestly don't think there's a movie.
Go like a Mysterio helmet on or something.
Why do you go to a fishbowl first?
Well, he's definitely not going to get anything into the... I know.
Sure.
I don't know. I think I'd risk it for see Tenet in cinemas.
All right. Rest in peace.
You know, I think we Queenslanders we've made a stuff.
Yeah, you Queenslanders make enough stupid mistakes. I saw pictures of your beaches. All right.
No, what are you talking about? Our beach, fine. It's
Yeah,
Sydney people with Bondi Beach all the time. Anyway, moving on. Oscars news. So they've made some rather substantial Oscars news.
Yeah.
So they've made some interesting changes this past fortnight. So they announced for the 93rd Academy Awards, which is scheduled for February 28th, 2021. Massive changes. The best sound editing and best sound mixing category will now be combined to be the best achievement in sound Academy Award category. How do we feel about this disgraceful change in categories for the next year's Academy Awards?
Everyone who watches and doesn't understand the difference is going to be happy because they'll be like, cool, there's just one category now. This makes our predictions easier. However, for the people who work in the industry, those two roles are very different, and I think they have a rightful enough reason to be annoyed that they can't. Their chances of being nominated for their actual direct work has now been diminished. And I don't know why they couldn't have just moved these awards. Maybe move them both off into the awards they do the night before, that the more boring, quote unquote boring ones, and then just have an overall sound award during the main show. That would have kind of allowed everyone to get a little bit of everything to keep happy. But instead they're like, nah, we'll just squish it in the one, stick it in the main show, whatever. So
yeah, I mean, obviously everybody gets the two mixed up, and I don't understand what they all mean. I mean, all the people, there's still going to be 6 Oscar statues up for grabs potentially each year, so the same number of people will be nominated. I guess it is just to streamline and make it less confusing for the difference, average pundit.
Like, sound design is the people that make the sounds, so they're making all of the sounds and that you hear in movies, gunshots, whatever. Like at the simplest form, let's just call it that. They're making the gunshots and shit. Sound mixing are the people who then take all those sounds and they mix them into the movie at the right way. However, their jobs are completely different. Like, they're not at all the same at all, you know? So they're not even close to the same when you think about it. Like, people creating sounds, going out recording foliage and whatever else and creating sounds for movies, then people mixing it into the movie. They're not it. Yeah. I know people don't understand it, but they're not the same or close to the same.
So apparently one of the reasons given was they found substantial overlap between the winners and nominees in both sound categories, with movies such as Bourne Ultimatum, The Hurt Locker, Inception, Hugo, Gravity, Mad Max Fury Road, Dunkirk, and Bohemian Rhapsody winning both sound mixing and sound editing in recent years.
Well, you know
of course,
why
that doesn't
that is,
count this
because-
year. Doesn't count this year, which Ford v Ferrari won Best Sound Editing and 1917 won Best Sound Mixing. So
The people voting don't understand the difference a lot of the time either.
that's
So-
the frustrating thing.
It's the problem isn't that they're the same. The problem isn't that they should have looked for a solution to have people who know what they're voting for vote instead of just open field. With
They should have a test
Academy
before
voters.
you vote.
Or something. Yeah.
But
Why
yeah,
does bad solution? IMO.
yeah, it's not great. But I guess the other big change, the Academy announced that films that had previous planned theatrical releases can qualify for Oscars without a Los Angeles qualifying run, but the film must be made available on the secure Academy screening room member-only streaming site within 60 days of the film's streaming or VOD release. This rule change is in effect until further notice. So, streaming films will be eligible, unquestionably, for Oscars this year. So you don't have to worry. Trolls World Tour is still eligible, potentially, to win Best Animated Feature or Best Picture, depending on what movies come out this year. So I'm betting Netflix feels pretty good about
Yeah, I
their
reckon
chances
they
this
do.
year.
I reckon they do.
They've got a fair number of pictures in the pipeline, I believe. So they've got to be going, oh, great, we don't have to worry about...
Putting it into one of the
Spielberg?
cinemas for a week.
Yeah, we don't
Get
have to go on this
nominated.
massive thing about the Irishman and everything. I mean... So do we suspect this could be a potentially big shift, or is it just
I think
a one-off?
It's a change that stays. No, I think it's a change that stays. I think once they see the caliber of movie coming through from even including streaming, it's like, okay, we should probably keep this and keep, moving forward with the times and not continue to be dated.
I don't know. I feel like there'll be a big pushback next year about changing it back from a large segment who definitely feel like movies eligible for Oscars should have a theatrical run.
Keep talking like cinemas are ever going to open up again.
They're gonna open up again. We need to put that positive energy back into the world. The secret. Got to visualize it before it happens. Yeah. So those are the big changes come to the Oscars. There's some smaller stuff like behind the scenes stuff. I believe they're in the process of getting rid of DVD screeners for the nominees
Stop
each year.
them leaks.
Yeah, so that now they're gonna have to watch them through the streaming service, but that also cuts back on the campaigning kind of stuff. Like you can't send a fancy DVD booklet for the people to see with 600 pages of content about the film, but then there's the tiny DVD in the back of the book. Or the DVDs just happens to be delivered in a fruit platter. Also, small change in the music original score category. For a score to be eligible, it must comprise a minimum of 60% original music. Additionally, for sequels and franchise films, a score must be a minimum of 80% new music. I don't know what the previous amount was. That seems... I would think that should be the other way around, right?
They didn't have... The old way, they didn't have a number on it. It used to just say very open. It should have a majority of new music or something. So the update was basically putting an actual percentage on it to help clarify the rules, which makes sense.
Cool. All right. So in some other awards news, this year's Logie Awards has been cancelled. I know.
Forever?
And ever.
No, just for this year.
Forever. Okay.
In a statement from Fiona Connolly, we have spent the last few weeks discussing with our event partners what the TV Week Logie Awards would look like in 2020, whilst adhering to government restrictions and working around the challenges of COVID-19. All parties agree the most positive outcome is not to hold the TV Week Logies, including public voting in 2020, but to stage an even bigger event on the Gold Coast in 2021. So what they're actually saying is they're not holding any awards. So they're not going to give out any awards this year. And next year will be like the best of the last 2 years. I suspect this will be
who watches the Logies?
old people.
I don't even
People
know if
who
they
watch
do, do
free to
they?
air
Like,
television.
People that really enjoy like daytime TV and morning shows, like those kind of people that that are currently crying out because Home and Away has been like paused or something. Like,
Has it?
I believe they're not shooting it, so I don't know how far ahead they shoot.
Yeah.
How many episodes do you reckon they became?
It's at the thing now is when I think it stopped because like for Channel 7 for instance, the only reason I know this is because my freaking parents talk to me when I call them about it. It's just like permanent news at night. Like it's just literally the news starts and then it gets to 7 where it normally changes over and then a different news show plays. And they keep talking about COVID-19. So like free to air TV is literally all doom and gloom right now.
I know, but shouldn't
Netflix?
we reward that? Shouldn't we give out awards for best news coverage at an award ceremony? Should the stuff that come out this year go up against stuff that comes out next year? I don't think they needed to have a ceremony. They could have still had like an event for stuff that came out this year. They could
still have like
an online event or like a.
Do you think the
award
TV
presentation
weekly Logies can afford to do something like that?
I mean, not really, but I'm sure they would have got
Thank
some.
you,
I'm sure somebody would have sponsored it.
Ashley, your faith in free-to-air TV and its audience it's remarkable and honestly inspiring to many in the generation.
The amount of reality TV show attached to trend mean there is a large free-to-air watching proportion of the country.
Yeah, it's people that don't have the NBN, so their Netflix is terrible, so they're like, I better watch this. I've tried ABC iView, and even that's bad, so let's just watch it on free-to-air.
Wow. You just don't want to be current, want to know the current news. Just don't want to...
It shows up on my phone.
Look, I don't have a TV aerial plugged in.
Also true. Also 100% can confirm.
But isn't it plugged in through your Fox? Oh, you don't have like a Foxtel box, do you?
No. So
for Foxtel and stuff, they have apps for it now on the consoles as well. So like, a lot of the stuff, like the main reason I used to buy Foxtel for sports, and they either have an app or there is like streaming service for it now called KO that do the same thing. So I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, I just think that things that come out this year should be rewarded this year, because everybody will forget about them next year. It's like movies that get released at the start of the year.
But isn't technically next year there's going to be... There should be, in theory, next year there'll be less new stuff anyway.
I mean, potentially, but who knows? We're doing so well at this COVID-19 thing. We're flattening that curve real good. That,
I don't know if things like freaking the film industry in Australia,
they'll be able
the
to...
TV show industry kind of
they'll be able
stands back up quickly.
They'll just have to reduce the number of people on set. 10 people on set at any given time.
Did you see the story about a leaked document in Hollywood that a bunch of producers from different movie companies were trying to get put through the system? So I don't remember what companies it was, but there's a leaked document that a bunch of movie companies were working on together to help get the movie industry and the TV industry back going. And basically the document outlines something where it's like they set out where they're going to shoot the film or whatever. Everyone that's involved with it arrives at the location. They do 2 weeks of quarantine at the location. Then when they start shooting production, no one's allowed to leave dedicated areas or whatever once they're there. They then have to do 2 weeks of lockdown after the production. Like, I don't know who would agree to it, but like, they're like, well, this is the only way we can try and get shooting again. So I don't know.
I mean, different sports teams looking at that option at the moment, obviously. Within Australia, the NRL and AFL are both looking potentially at hubs where they're going to have to quarantine for several weeks at a time. There was a rumour going around that the Premier League was looking at coming to Perth to finish their season, which seems crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's a thing that could happen. Who knows at this point? I mean, maybe Big Brother comes back in a big way. We just shove 12 random people in a house
That's a horror
watch
movie
them.
now.
Watch, just have them like Truman Show style. Just
Someone
show them.
sneezes on the uncut version, and then everyone in the Big Brother house is like, "You fucking what?"
Well, no, but
In
they'd have to be
full
quarantined.
horror story, one person with COVID accidentally gets into the Big Brother house, and like it's just a whole.
Oh no, they tell them one of them has the COVID.
Oh my god, Ashley, stop. Some TV producer
Like-
that happens on our podcast is going to hear it, be like, that's
is a
gold,
great idea.
let's get it going
Like-
right now.
Like Big Brother brings them all in to like do their voting, but it's actually they tell them, listen, one person in this house has got coronavirus. We don't know. We want you to figure out
Stop
who it
it.
is. If you get the correct person, you get $1 million. And
got
the
something
trick is
for you.
none of them have coronavirus.
I've got something for you to watch if you like the sound of that. Have you heard of a series called Dead Set?
No.
It was written by Charlie Brooker, who is most famous now for Black Mirror. The synopsis, I looked it up on IMDb real quick. During a fictional series of Big Brother, a zombie outbreak
I
occurs,
have
but the
heard of this.
housemates are unaware of the impending doom outside of the Big Brother house. It's 5 episodes. It was a one and done series. And if you like Black Mirror, where Charlie Brooker basically writes his take on what he thinks of society and everything now, this was him during the high of Big Brother time, where he was obviously looking at that on TV every night and was like, what the fuck's going on with the world? And, and he wrote this, and it's great. And I would suggest people watch it.
Okay. So there's that. Anyway, Logies. Not
Fuck the
happening.
Logies. Next story. I don't fuck.
Next story. Speaking of Foxtel, Foxtel and Warner Media today consolidated their long-standing relationship with a major New Year multi-year licensing agreement covering programming from Warner Brothers, HBO Max, and Warner Media Networks.
This is terrible.
So there was rumors that Stan was trying to work their way into getting this exclusivity deal with Warner Media. It looks like Foxtel has won out. So we'll get all the new shows. Probably, at least we know they'll be getting the new shows from HBO Max. So at least we know they'll be coming to Australia. That's a plus, seeing as it was unlikely that they were going to release the service in Australia. Also, good news for Foxtel, because apparently they're in the process of releasing a new streaming service that is purely the like drama or scripted content that is rumored to be called Binge. So now with this deal in place, it's likely that they'll announce that in the next coming weeks with a release probably the next month or two.
That actually blows my brain out by now that there isn't a streaming service already called Binge out. You know, like you'd think that'd be like an instant. Yeah, we got it.
I feel like it's a hard trademark to get,
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Trademark wise, maybe.
but apparently they did. Apparently they did because there's a Foxtel channel called Binge, which is why they're using that name because they've already got the trademark.
Oh shit. Yeah, so this story sucks, but it's great to know that we'll be able to watch it, as you said. But I love giving money to Murdochs.
I mean, it's not him directly. There's a bunch of people in between, so you just need to think.
It ends up in his pocket eventually, though.
I mean, Foxtel isn't really doing that well, so I
mean, if Hitler owned Foxtel, and are you funding him?
I mean,
Maybe.
I don't know how good is
Let's be honest. Murdoch's could run Foxtel at a complete and utter loss, and it wouldn't make any difference to his revenue or bank account.
I
Maybe.
guess he's got so many different pies to get the money
his
from
dick
out of.
Um,
God.
Yeah, so Foxtel continues to get my money. Cool. I remember when I woke up and I saw this news story, I was like, that's annoying. I don't know what reaction you're supposed to have. It's just the type of thing that makes sense. You're like, yeah, that does make sense. But also, damn, because I had my hopes up for ages that HBO and Foxtel's relationship was going to slowly end and wither away after Game of Thrones, and then would just get HBO Now here and
Yep,
that'd be
that's
their
what I
own
was
thing.
hoping for as well.
But now this is just set the stone, and that's it. This is what we deal with. If you want HBO, you gotta have Foxtel.
Well,
Set your sails on the high seas.
what if they do release this new streaming service and it's like $20 a month? Would that be more interesting to you, or?
I mean, $20.
Or are you just against Foxtel as a concept?
I'm against Foxtel as a concept, but I would pay $20. Yes. I would not put my money where my mouth is on this occasion. I would suck her up and
on
be
this
like,
one.
No,
For content reasons. You know?
Exactly.
You need to watch. You need to watch Dune Sisterhood when it comes out next year, and the Gossip Girl spinoff. Yeah. So that's all the news we got for this episode. Let's move into what did we end up watching. Hey, Ciaran, what did we end up watching?
We ended up watching the fantastic anime movie Your Name.
You want to hit the cafe later? Thanks, but I gotta go to work.
I can't stand this place anymore. It's too small and towny. Please make me a handsome Tokyo boy in my next life!
Where?
Now that you mention it, I do feel like I've been having weird dreams lately. I could dream about someone else's life.
What is this? What?
Could this mean?
In our dreams, that girl and I... We're switching places?
There's one thing I'm certain of. If we see each other, we'll definitely know right away.
I was planning to tell you that wherever you are in the world, I swear that I'll find you again, no matter what.
Who are you?
Who are you? Can I ask you your name?
Yes, the 2016 animated film directed by Makoto Shinkai, voiced by Ryosuke Kamaki, Koni Kamishi Shiroshiya, Ryo Narita, Aoyuki, Nobunagi Shimakaze. Yes.
I did it for you, Dylan. I did it for you, buddy.
So two teenagers share a profound magical connection upon discovering they are swapping bodies, but things can become even more complicated when the boy and girl decide to meet in person. So this is one of the highest grossing anime films of all time.
It is.
I believe it's second in
Japan's
Japan, behind Spirited Away.
No, it's above, I thought. I thought it was the highest grossing movie in Japan now.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, it's it's the highest grossing of all time.
Yeah.
No, hang on. Maybe all over the world, but not specifically in Japan. Just to double check the numbers. Yeah, so worldwide it's the highest grossing, but in Japan it is fourth overall, like of all films. Behind Spirited Away, Titanic, and Frozen.
What?
Yeah.
They really just don't like comic book movies over there. I'm surprised Avengers isn't,
Do you know what? Do you want to guess what's number 5?
Probably Avengers Endgame?
Nope. It's it's the first film in a big franchise. By Warner Brothers.
Oh.
With
I
magic.
don't know why it's the toilet.
Batman.
No. Number 5 is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Philosopher's Stone.
Very interesting that that's the top one. All the other ones drop down.
Everyone in Japan watched it. Like, man, this book series fucking taking off across the world. Let's check it out. They went in there like, yeah, this is trash, eh? Let's go back to...
I hate reading subtitles.
Let's go back to anime.
Let's go back to their fucking cartoon movies.
Hate dubs. So, Your Name, the massive hit. Ciaran, you're the anime lover. Why'd you pick Your Name? Why'd you pick the most obvious pick possible?
The most obvious pick possible? Well, first, I was like, man, it's my pick, and I've got to inject anime into this show another way. And I've always wanted to watch Your Name. I know it's so critically
Wait, hold on.
Whoa.
Pause. You're telling me that you picked it because you hadn't watched it before?
No, I haven't watched it before.
Oh my god, this changes everything I thought about
changes the
I thought you were
complete
picking it
focus
as a
of the
comfort
story.
pick.
No, I've just never watched this.
You know,
Oh,
we thought
okay.
this was like Limitless, where you'd seen it multiple times and you wanted to come on here and talk about how great
I've
it was.
never watched this.
Oh,
No, I've never watched
Okay,
it.
I feel like I'm more accepting of your pick now because I was like, damn,
Yeah,
he's just picking
this
shitty
makes more
scene
sense.
again. Like,
No, I've never watched this movie. I've just known how much like people have talked about it, how much people love it, and I've just was like, I need to use this as an opportunity to watch this kind of movie and to watch
force
it.
yourself.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What was
So how much did you know going in?
I knew barely nothing. Like I knew it was about a boy and a girl that swapped bodies, and I knew barely nothing going into this.
Oh, I love to hear it. So, Ciaran, what did you think of Your Name? Spoilers. Oh,
My God, this movie was heartbreaking at so many points. I was so like the moment you find out that it's 3 years in the past and she's dead.
spoilers.
I was like,
Oh.
spoilers. That was, sorry about that. Spoilers. 3 years in the past and she's dead. My God, have I never just felt my heart drop and just be totally gut wrenched going into it. Like I was just, and I was just so like sad and melancholy through like multiple moments throughout this goddamn movie, and I didn't expect to be. Like I just didn't expect it to take the turn that it did, and the path. And even when it was getting towards the end, I was like, okay, this is the moment when the movie's gonna have that nice upswing where it's gonna have no, they're gonna forget each other. Oh, okay, shit. Like, and it has that tiny upswing at the very end, but it was, I loved it though. It was, I loved it so much.
Dylan, you've been critical of Your Name in the past. What did you think on this most recent rewatch?
I asked you guys if you guys had seen this.
Yeah,
you
we've
guys
seen
both
it.
said no.
no,
We've seen it.
We've
Did
seen
you?
it.
Really? Oh,
We've
okay. I
both
wouldn't
seen
have
it.
picked this.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I would have
Multiple
picked.
times.
I wouldn't have picked this if I.
No,
thought-
No,
It's
it's
fine.
fine.
Seen it. That's-
It's fine. You haven't seen it, so it's a fine pick. So I watched it this time in dub because to do something
Same.
different because I watched it originally in the subs. I still enjoy it. It's not like I hate the movie. I just think I consider it overrated. Like my biggest hang up is still the same, which is that I feel like too many of the montagey type of scenes where they're like, and you hear them over talking and you see all these scenes playing out where they're like swapping bodies and whatever else. I feel like I just needed one more scene to add to show them actually connecting, because I feel like there's that period of the movie where it just shows this montage and it's like talking, doing all this sort of stuff, and then next second it's like, oh, and she's dead, and now he like really loves her and all this sort of stuff. I feel like it's just missing something in there at some point in that movie to help really sell the connection for me personally. Not to say it doesn't work. Like I enjoy the movie, I like it. I don't think it's as good as the internet's in love with it, and I think a lot of it comes down to I don't get fully sold on their connection, and that makes it harder to appreciate the ending and the emotional beats, I suppose. Yeah, but I mean, it's still an enjoyable movie. It's still beautiful. It's still this cinematic flair of these cinematic these swooping shots, and the way they draw the backgrounds and the meteor and all this sort of stuff. It's well drawn. Cool soundtrack.
So I
Very cool soundtrack.
Yes, the music in this film is amazing. Who is it? It's recorded by Radwimps is the name of the band, but the lead of the band is Yujiro Noda, who did all the music in the film, but then also recorded the songs for the songs that play in it. But I think it's one of the most beautiful scores from an anime I've seen. So that's great. Again, I also watched it in the dub. I think it works just as well in the dub. I think the dub is very well done. Like it matches perfectly. I don't think they're interchangeable. I think they work either way. But it is still a great movie. Fantastic. I understand where Dylan's coming from, but I think it's that thing that they both realize at like the last possible minute that they're in love with each other. So it's like a slow build kind of thing.
I think it's more the fact that, it took him going on the date for him to kind of realize who he was actually more interested in, or what about, because I think it's more the fact that he's lived this girl's life so much that he now is so interested in the person that's lived this life in the past and everything she's done. That, you have that moment where he's staring at the pictures in the museum, where I think that's the moment of realization for him that this isn't the girl that he wants to spend time with, the girl he's on a date with. It's this person that he keeps swapping bodies with.
I think one of the reasons I like it less is also because I watched this, and then the week following I watched A Silent Voice, which were the two hot anime movies for the year. And my hot take is that A Silent Voice is so much better than this. And because I remember watching this and being like, oh yeah, it's good, like, like a 7, I enjoyed it, fine. And then I remember watching A Silent Voice the following week and then just bawling my eyes out for like fucking half the movie and being like, why this movie's breaking my fucking heart? And then when we get to the end of the year and we're talking about, it's like everyone's talking about what's better, I'm like, well, one made me cry for like half the fucking movie and the other one didn't make me cry at all. So I guess The Silent Voice is the winner. Sorry, everyone. Have you seen A Silent Voice, Ciaran?
I have not, so I'll add that to my list.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. But yeah. Both great films. I think they're more even than probably Dylan is saying. But yeah, that reveal halfway through is like perfectly built. Even though you do have to suspend your disbelief that neither of them looked at a calendar at any time in this month where they were switching bodies.
Or their phones. Literally, we're just...
Well, to be fair, you look at your phone, it doesn't list the year.
Walk past the cinema.
The thing is, it could be, and it's also, you can use the MacGuffin kind of escape rule of magic bullshit. There was some kind of...
There's some sort of magic.
Yeah, magical bullcrap that was kind of hiding the year at the time, just to kind of...
Yeah, so, yeah, I enjoyed all the elements. Shout out to his little sister, her little sister, who always walks in.
Stop touching your boobies.
In the morning. In the dub, it's perfect, the delivery of stop touching your boobies. You must really love your boobies. Yes, and then when they actually meet, like, in person, like, the only time in the film, like, on top of the ridge, and have that moment of, like...
They meet twice in the film?
Yeah, the first proper time.
Yeah.
Magic
on the ridge, right before meteor's going to strike. Beautiful, heartbreaking, and then he pulls the power move of writing "I love you" on her hand instead of writing his name. Like
I love her reaction to it. Like when she looks to try and remember his name, and it just says "I love you," and she's just like, "Well, that's not going to help me remember your name." Like,
but she's crying, laughing.
But she's crying, and like she feels the same way. It's just, it's incredible.
And that cut is perfect. Like the way they did it of her about to write her name, and obviously the magic hour ends. Cut to the pen falling on the ground,
and it also just goes dead silence at that point.
Beautiful. There any other bits that really worked for you, Ciaran?
I thought it was a really interesting way that they start the movie. They start it without kind of explaining heaps. Like that you join in her story after he's already spent a day in her body, and so it's very, you don't get like the obvious, the hand holding, this is what's happening kind of thing. It kind of slowly brings you into it. And yeah, even though Dylan said the montages were, used in a different way, and he could have used, I love those montages. I thought those montages were so good. The music, and that's just my kind of jam when it comes to anime. So if people haven't watched it, or they watched it because of this podcast, that's very good. I'm glad. I'm excited.
We've spoiled the secret.
We have. So I hope you stopped listening. Like before.
Yeah. So again, beautifully. I think a lot of like the the landscapes and that kind of thing are beautifully animated. The meteor strike is freaking incredibly animated. Like, it's like that destruction is like next level, full on action anime kind of like destruction.
Even some of like the quote unquote the camera pans in this movie that I'm just like, I've never seen like quote unquote cameras move in anime in this way that it's done. So like, especially like there's like multiple shots of them kind of showing them looking up at the sky as it kind of swings underneath them at an angle. It looked beautiful the whole time. So it's really an amazing movie.
Cool. Yeah, so the other thing was the ending. Interesting to like watch this again after we've watched Ocean Waves, which you can listen to us talk about on our other anime podcast called Studio Ghibli's Animated Wonders. Plug. Where that film also has shots of people missing each other on trains. It's much better here.
Oh my god, I literally watched this, and at the end of this I was like, Ocean Waves, this is what you needed to have done. Like this right here is what you needed to have done to build.
How do you know
likable
they
characters.
didn't watch Ocean Waves and they were inspired
Like,
by
we're going to do it
movie?
better.
We're going to
do it better.
I mean,
this
that
is just
could have
garbage.
been, yeah.
Let's do it better.
Yeah. So I guess the last point is, I think we've talked about it before, but back in 2017, it was announced that J.J. Abrams and screenwriter Eric Kaiser were working on a live-action adaptation of Your Name to be released for Paramount Pictures. In February of last year, Mark Webb of 500 Days of Summer, The Amazing Spider-Man.
1 and 2, Ash. Fucking
1 and 2. Well, The Amazing Spider-Man films were signed on... No, there was only 2.
I know, that was the joke.
Was signed on to direct the remake of Your Name for America, in which it would follow a young Native American woman living in a rural area and a young man from Chicago who are discover magical and intermittently swapping bodies. Can it work? Will it work? Will it ever get made?
No.
It'll probably get made, and it'll probably be bad. There'll be something about it that just isn't.
My biggest worry for this movie is the whole white. Like they're like, we'll make it Native American, right? We'll make it a Native American person because then we can do some fucking Native American spiritual shit. But we'll make it really offensive because everyone that's making this is a white dude, and it's gonna happen. And you can give me that look, Ash, but I can guarantee it will fucking happen. They'll do. You don't
think they're gonna get like some cultural experts on?
Yeah,
like,
but they won't.
They will. This is a massive project.
It'd be like if JJ actually got a Star Wars expert to help with his Star Wars films.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Ciaran nearly choked to death right there.
Oh, I took a drink at the very wrong moment then.
I mean, it could work. It definitely, like, the concept itself could translate to another form or medium. I think obviously the thing that will be drawn away is the crying all the time. The anime crying just doesn't work the same way as
and the
people crying.
Jokes.
You know, but yeah, I think
it's a Japanese thing to make the booby jokes, and it would not work as well for a Western kind.
If they made this movie for America, they're gonna want to make it PG and target it towards like the 12 plus kind of audience.
So they're pretty much just going to make Freaky Friday 2.0.
Yeah.
That's true. And you couldn't do the embarrassment stuff as well. You know, like, obviously she's blushing as she's having to go to the toilet in his body. That kind of stuff.
Imagine a white dude getting transferred into a Native American girl's body. What the fuck is this movie? No!
I mean,
the more I think about it, the more I hate it.
He could be Native American as well.
That ain't gonna happen though. I have no faith at all. Nah, fuck this movie. I don't care.
All right. That brings us to the end.
What are they doing? Native American. Oh! They're fucking. Oh no! Please help me.
I will say before we go. Look, as an audience, I'm going to promise to you, my new goal for what do you want to watch whenever it's my turn to pick a movie is to pick something Dylan hasn't seen and that he actually has only good things to say about it. Because at the moment, not the greatest hit rate in recent history. So we're gonna strive for that.
Hopefully, it happens before Nick comes back.
You got
All right. Yeah, next year. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to follow us on Twitter, go to explosionamp.com/Twitter. All our Twitter handles are there. You can tweet at us nice things. You tweet us not so nice things, but then you'll get blocked. If you want to read all our reviews or other content we talked about in this episode, you can go to explosionnetwork.com. It's there. The podcasts, the news, the reviews, everything. It's there. explosionnetwork.com. If you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or just tell somebody about the show. If you, by chance, swap bodies with somebody else, go onto their device, their phone, and subscribe and rate and review all our podcasts, or at least What Do You Want to Watch? That would be greatly
Respect their
appreciated.
privacy. Don't do that.
No, definitely. Just subscribe. You're doing them a favor. You're helping them out. It's just on the same level as setting up a date for somebody else. You know? Subscribing to What Do You Want to Watch? Setting a date up with their crush. You're doing a good thing both times. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Imagine if they made an Australian version where it's a white dude swaps into an Aboriginal body.
Oh my god, Dylan, stop!
Oh, what a bad idea.